Choosing your business name. Now, this is a tricky one. What are we going to call all this, and how are people going to remember you? That's what we're talking about in today's video. Today, I'm in Mexico City, and the question comes from Kristen, who says, Phil, how do you choose the best business name? Well, Kristen, you're in for a treat. I've got 5 tips for you that I'm going to give you today that will help you narrow down some choices and make a decision. Tip number 1, make that name memorable. Humans are bombarded with all kinds of information every single day, and we remember and retain a very small amount of that information. So how can you name your business something that people will remember? So much of branding is staying top of mind, not necessarily making a sale or a transaction in the moment, but staying top of mind for people so that when they need something, they think of you. A memorable name is going to put you at their fingerprints as soon as they need that something. We can all relate to the frustration of trying to remember that name or that brand, that something we saw, and you can't remember it. A memorable name will keep them finding you faster. Tip number 2, make that name relevant. What do I mean by that? Well, the more you can say in a brand name that actually explains what that person is getting, the better. For example, what if your brand name referenced the literal functioning of your product or service? Or in the case of the work that I'm doing more often, I'm working with personal brands, so we're building a brand around a person. For many people, it's a good idea to actually brand as your name, because that means that you don't necessarily have to trademark it, and your name is going to live with you forever. When I say you don't have to trademark it, I mean you have permission to use the name that you were given. So when it comes to naming your business, a name that's relevant is usually a good option. Tip number 3, make your brand name unique. You might have all kinds of ideas on what you might want to name your business, but hop over to the internet and do a quick search on social media for handles and for web addresses available online, and that's already going to help you narrow down choices. Domain competition and available handles on popular platforms like Instagram will already be taken in a lot of cases, particularly when it comes to domains.coms. So now, more often than ever, we're seeing people get creative with their top-level domains. For example, not necessarily using a .com, but a .co, or a .biz, or a .pizza. I own a house that I rent in Florida, so I use philpallen.house. Ideally, you land on something that has a great domain available as well as consistent social media handles. Try to avoid using something that someone has already taken in your industry. Tip number 4, think about the visual brand. Obviously, for this brand name, you're going to want a logo, so start to think about how that's going to look. How are you going to illustrate the name visually? Some examples: abstract, pictorial, wordmark logos. There are all kinds of examples out there with big brands that will give you some inspiration on how you can start to visualize your brand. But in the stage where you're thinking about the name, you want to start to think about how it's going to look. A brand name that's long is going to be more difficult to illustrate. You don't have to decide exactly how it's going to look right now, but all I'm saying is to give it some thought. If, for example, you're between 2 brand name options, this might help you make the ultimate decision. Tip number 5, when in doubt, ask for help. There's a lot you're able to do on your own. For example, if you're based in the US, you can see who else is using those potential brand names and if they're already registered as a trademark. All you need to do is go to uspto.gov and do a basic wordmark search. When you do this search, if nothing comes up, that is a good sign. At the same time, if you're not a trademark attorney, you're limited in what you can do. We, for example, help all kinds of business owners name their business, then they're able to go to a trademark attorney to get it protected. If you're in the stage where you're brainstorming on possible options, maybe just ask around, friends and family, to see what they think about some of your ideas. And if you're stumped, there are people who do this professionally that are always able to help. Here's a question for the business owners. How did you come up with the name for your business? I want to hear all about it. Put your answer in the comments below. And if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more practical advice to looking good online. I'm Phil Pallen. I know time is of the essence, so I appreciate your valuable minutes today, and I'll see you back next time.